Hi everybody, it's Laura from Green Tree, and today we're talking about how to eat healthy when you're traveling. It can be really hard to eat healthy when you're outside of your normal day-to-day routine, but as I think most of us know, being sick, especially any kind of like food poisoning or issues from eating something that doesn't agree with you while you're traveling, is pretty much the worst. So even though there's a lot of temptation to indulge and go crazy on all of the treats when you're out and about and outside of your regular routine, it's actually one of the worst times to do it. So I'm going to go through and try and give you some tips that can help you stay on the dietary straight and narrow while you're out and about this holiday season. So one of my first suggestions is to bring snacks with you. If you have something in the car that you can eat while you're driving, or something that you can bring through in your carry-on if you're flying, you're going to be a lot less likely to buy some kind of heavy type of treat food that's going to make you feel not so great. So, a couple of options. This would work whether you are in the car or whether you're flying. So one example that I have is an Epic bar. This is a good choice if you do consume meat products. For example, this, instead of just having turkey, actually has cranberries and almonds in it. So you're getting more fiber, you're getting several types of protein, the texture is softer, and this is something that you can put in a carry-on luggage. So if you've got this in your car, you don't have to worry about refrigerating it. If you've got it in your luggage, it'll go through the metal detectors and stuff just fine. There's no special preparation involved. The package has nice little perforations on the top, so it tears open easy. So when you're choosing these travel snacks, you want to think, what is easy to eat right now? What's not going to require a lot of extra prep? Other things that I suggest, one of my favorite travel snacks, blueberries. Blueberries are amazing. You can either just bring the container with if it's, say, a 6-hour or less drive, or you can have a little cooler with blueberries, maybe some sliced cucumbers. Carrot sticks are another great road trip food, because the nice thing about these, the reason they're so juicy and delicious, is because they're full of water. So in addition to fueling you so you don't have to stop quite as often, and when you do, you won't make as bad of choices, they're also hydrating you. And staying hydrated is really important, because a lot of the time when you feel hungry, especially when you're in a lot of forced air, like in a car or an airplane, you're actually just really dehydrated. And pounding coffee at each rest stop is not going to keep you from getting dehydrated. So having fruit or veggies as one of your pre-packed snacks that you bring with you is going to make it a lot easier to stay healthy and to keep from giving into one of those cravings, because you're 4 or 5 hours into the trip and you're really hungry, you haven't brought any snacks, you stop and you eat a big heavy meal. Now you've got to get back on the road, or heaven forbid back on another plane, and you're going to feel all weighed down. So these are good things to bring with you. So fruits and veggies, very important. Also, water. If you are going through an airport, I suggest bringing one of those big refillable water bottles empty and refilling it in the airport. You can also purchase water once you're there, but ideally you want something that you can carry with you all throughout your trip that's going to stand up to the wear and tear of, changes in elevation, changes in temperature, being squished when it's packed up. And so reusable water bottles are great for travel. Let's see. Oh, protein is really important. So I mentioned the Epic bars, but there's another way to do that, which is nuts and seeds. So this right here is paleo granola. I really like this because it's a little bit sweet rather than salty. When you have a lot of salty snacks, that contributes to the dehydration. This is not too sweet, but it's going to satisfy that sweet tooth and make it less likely that you're going to stop and get some kind of heavy dessert somewhere. But the other nice thing about this is something that doubles down for other uses. You can just eat handfuls of it as is. It's full of the nuts and seeds. There's no grains in this, so you're going to have fewer empty carbs, and you're not going to get that kind of rise and crash in your blood sugar. But you can also take this and say you find yourself in a continental breakfast situation. You can take that plain oatmeal, and instead of pouring a bunch of brown sugar on it, which is probably the only topping choice you'll have, you can stir in a couple scoops of this. It's going to add flavor, it's going to add nutrition, and it's not going to give you that sugar crash. You could also go ahead and throw this in a little cup of yogurt that you could get at any kind of a quick stop type of place without having to do anything really complicated in terms of preparation. So it's going to be really useful because you can stir it in, you can eat it by itself, and it's going to double down for different meals or snacks. Now the reason protein is important And another type of protein that travels well is cheese. This is actually it's cranberry rosemary cheese, so you'll feel festive while you're eating it. But cheese is good too because, again, as long as it's not a multi-day kind of a trip, if you're doing it in a day, this is going to be something that's fairly safe without heavy refrigeration. You can just throw this in a little cooler, and it's going to be pretty satisfying. It's going to stick with you for a while. You don't want a bunch of empty carbs for your snacks. If you bring bags of pretzels and chips and even granola bars on something like this, you're going to be getting a lot of sugar, a lot of carbohydrates, and things that don't stick with you and you don't feel full for a long time. So then you're going to stop more, and every time you stop, you're likely to do something that's going to take you a little bit out of the health zone when it comes to how you should eat while you travel. Now, that said, carbs are not all bad. If your choice for snacks is between empty sugars and carbs, go for the carbs. Carbs will stick with you longer than sugar. A granola bar is going to be better than a candy bar in terms of keeping you full and not giving you that spike and crash. Because the last thing you want is halfway through an 8-hour car trip to suddenly really need a nap. And if you have those carbs versus that straight up sugar, it's going to be more like this instead of those sharp peaks and valleys. So same reason that you want to avoid caffeine, you don't want candy to be the main thing that's getting you through your travel experience. So let's see, I'm going to check my list here, make sure I mention it all for you guys. Oh, when you are going to stop, think about where you're stopping. Fast food is really tricky. Some of them are offering better choices now. Sometimes you can get a salad or some yogurt, but they tend to be harder to eat in the car. So what I would really suggest is to try and find some place that has either a grab and go type of deli where there's prepared foods that you can take and eat as is, or a grocery store. You might not think of a grocery store when you're trying to decide where to stop on your road trip, but a grocery store is going to give you a lot more options. They're still typically easy to grab and take with you foods, and you're not going to end up with all of the fat, carbs, and sugar just kind of weighing your stomach down and making you sleepy that you're going to get when you go to fast food places. Now, this is also a good option for hotels. So if you're looking for a hotel, you want to go ahead and Google what is around it and see, are there restaurants there? Are there grocery stores there? And get an idea of what your choices will be. Maybe you're lucky and there's a co-op next to the place that you're going to stay. But especially if it's unfamiliar territory, look into your options before you leave, and you're going to be able to make better choices once you get there. Also, if you're staying in a hotel, try and get one with a fridge. That's going to make it easier to make healthy choices too, because you can get some things, bring them back with you, and you're less likely to end up with a breakfast that's just donuts or tiny boxes of frosted cereal. So you want to avoid that if possible. Let's see. My last thing that I want to suggest to you guys, because I personally do fall prey to this, avoid the urge to say, oh, this is a special occasion, I'm going to go ahead and have this as a treat, even though I know it doesn't agree with me. When you're traveling is one of the worst times to go ahead and eat those trouble foods, the foods that you know cause you issues, even though you really enjoy them. If you're going to indulge in stuff like that, do it when you're at home and you have all of your different remedies and probiotics and healthy foods that you know will help calm your system down around you, when you know you can get enough sleep and you're going to be on a regular schedule. When you're out and about is not a great time to experiment with stuff that you know bothers your stomach. It's just not a great idea. So try to avoid those trouble foods, those little trigger ones that you know are going to set your system off, and then you can enjoy the stuff that's at least close to what you normally eat a lot more because you won't be feeling sick. And then, final thing, try to stick as close as possible to your normal eating schedule. If you usually eat breakfast at 5 a.m., try to eat it by 7. Try to keep close to that window. If you're somebody who normally doesn't eat until noon, then don't try and force yourself to be up and eating early when that's not what suits your system. Try to keep your sleep schedule and your eating schedule as close together as possible, and you'll avoid a lot of the upset that happens from just having cravings, getting cranky from being off of your norm, and that is what's going to send you into the place where you eat all of those things that really aren't good for you. So hopefully that was helpful, and next time you jump in the car or set yourself on a road trip, maybe you'll be like me and have a little bag of blueberries and some carrot sticks off on the side there, so that when I stop at the gas station, I'm less likely to buy myself a bag full of Doritos and a couple of candy bars. But I wish you guys some happy, healthy traveling, and if you want to try any of the things I showed you today, I'll be here until about 6. Have a good night, everybody. Happy Tuesday.